I will have you select the registration icon. By selecting the registration icon, it opens the OpenRegistration application. You will notice that after the OpenRegistration application opens, that it does not populate a patient for you. You will need to put in a patient last name and select Enter on your keyboard to find your patient. You can also search for your patient by using the magnifying glass. The magnifying glass will give you additional options for searching. You can search by patient number, social security number, medical record. Last name sounds like last name and first name. I'm going to hit cancel here to get out of the additional search area. OpenRegistration is also broken down into 3 main sections. You will notice the top toolbar, your left navigation, and your main encounter pad area. Throughout PNC, you will notice that the H drop-down will always give you the history of the last 8 patients that you have searched for. The top toolbar is going to give you your patient name, also known as a preferred name, the patient number, the patient date of birth, the sex, and the age. Again, you can send an instant message using the instant message bubble. You can go back to your application manager using the green application manager arrow. You can go to Open Billing using the Open Billing icon. You can go to Open Scheduling by selecting the Open Scheduling icon. You can go to Open Chart by selecting the Open Chart icon, and you can lock the PNC application by selecting the Lock icon. You can review the patient demographics by looking at the individual containers on the patient demographic encounter area. If you find you should need to edit any of the patient demographic information, you would simply select the registration icon from the left navigation. This registration icon will open up the OpenRegistration Edit Patient Registration pop-up and allow you to enter additional information or edit information in these individual containers. You will notice that information that is grayed out is populating from PeopleSoft and cannot be changed. The fields that say sex, gender identity, and sex assigned at birth are what are going to drive an asterisk that is to the left of the patient's sex, indicating that there is additional information regarding this patient's sex that you should be aware of. It will also show here in the registration container. You can change the ethnicity, the race, the second race. This is where you will also be setting up the patient portal so the patient can receive secure messages and set web appointments. You will also be entering in any scheduler's comment here. You will notice that these individual tabs have their own field and box. The OK button is below the individual tabs, so you can edit each one of these individual tabs and only have to select the OK one time. The Address tab is where you would be putting in the patient address and telephone number and email address. The local address is where the patient is living on campus. The permanent address is where they would be receiving their permanent information mailed to them. The local phone is their cell phone or the phone that they would have on campus, and the permanent phone is usually their home phone or their parents' phone number. The mobile phone and the local phone are usually one and the same. If the patient would like to receive text messages regarding their appointments, you can enable the text messages. The email address will populate from PeopleSoft if the patient has registered as a student on campus. This is usually their university email address. You can edit their email address by selecting the Edit button. I will not be going through the additional tabs at this time. I will be selecting OK to close out of the Edit Registration pop-up, and this brings us back to our Open Registration page. I will now be closing out of the Open Registration using the X on the top right-hand side of the page. It asks me, do you really want to exit the application? And I do, so I am going to say yes. It then brings us back to our Application Manager.